Welcome to Season 1, Episode 5 of Pockets of Joy with Niamh O'Connell, dropping 2 episodes a week to inspire you to live your dream life. Today my guest is star of Celtic Woman and Riverdance, singer Lisa Kelly in Georgia, United States. Lisa now runs a voice academy as well as raising the next generation of champion Irish dancers. Let's dive into this pocket of joy as we reminisce about performing arts back in the day, my own dreams of stardom, and hear how Lisa has achieved her dreams while raising 4 children. Truly inspirational. Check my YouTube channel for the video version. So today on Pockets of Joy, I am delighted to be joined by the international singing star Lisa Kelly. She was one of the soloists in Celtic Woman and the Riverdance show. Now Lisa is a businesswoman and owner of the Lisa Kelly Voice Academy in the US. She's released her own music over the years, including a gorgeous Christmas song, and recorded a song for a Disney movie, which I was listening to with my daughter this morning, and she loved it. Lisa and I go way back to the 90s to a community theatre group, and she was the ultimate triple threat back then, singing, dancing, and acting, and I was so inspired watching her perform. She's now a mother of 4 children who are all making their own mark on the performance world. And Lisa toured and performed while having her children. And now you're settled in Peachtree City, Georgia, and you've opened your school since 2013. She's also a host of the fabulous podcast Middleage-ish, which I was happy to guest on last year. And that really helped me realize I love this medium, and it inspired me again to start this podcast. So Lisa has inspired me for the last 20 odd years, and I'm delighted to have her on and watch her business grow over the years and see her children growing up to follow their dreams. So thank you so much for joining me today, Lisa.
Thank you for having me. What a nice intro. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. It's been a long 20 years.
It makes me feel so old saying it all, but I think you have such a body of work. You can probably look back and be super proud of everything you've done.
I am. I know I really am. And I think that's probably, that's kind of definitely helped in having my own business. Is like, I often say to people, God, you know, if anything, God forbid, happened, I'm very, very content with my work life and what I did in my work life. I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. And I was very lucky in so many instances. And I say that to people all the time. It really is, you know, a lot of being in the right place at the right time. And I know there's loads of people that believe that things don't happen for a reason, but I genuinely believe things happen for a reason, and things that you don't get are, you know, it's because something else is meant for you. And my life really had been like that. There was so much turmoil in my later teens and early 20s, and things just kind of, you know, one door would slam in your face and then another one would open. I mean, I tell people the story all the time. I'm laughing at you saying I'm a triple threat. The reason I actually ended up doing this for a living was I went and auditioned for Guinness's. You remember Guinness's had a great musical theatre, and they just hated me. They'd never let me in. Like they wouldn't even let me be in the ensemble ever. So I went along for an audition for it'll come to me, the song that not Kiss Me so Crazy for You. I went and auditioned for Crazy for You, and I went in, and I remember so well going in for the audition, and Noel McDonough was going to be the director, and it was the first time I'd ever met Noel. And I walked in, and I can't remember who the guy was reading opposite me, but he was gorgeous, and we had so much chemistry, and I knew the reading had gone so well. And I knew the singing part, you know, and I never feel like that in an audition, but I really felt the singing part went really, really well too. And I was confident in those days. And then they said, you have to do a tap audition. And I'm going, oh shit, I can't dance. I can move. Mark Usher referred to me as a tree once, but I was like, I can't actually dance. So I figured if I was a good enough actor, I would be able to fool them because I could move. I could move. It wasn't that I had 2 left feet. I could move. So Margaret Joyce came out with to do a tap audition. I'm standing on the stage on my own going, oh God, I'm actually going to have to do this. I had no tap shoes. She handed me a pair of tap shoes. And I did the whole audition that she made me do so badly. And I knew I'd done really badly. And Noel came up to me at the end of it and he said, just so you know, you can't actually dance.
Oh no.
I know, I'm so sorry. And he was like, you can't have the part because you can't dance, and she has to do a tap solo. And I was devastated. And I remember going home, like it was a walk of shame the whole way home, and I cried my eyes out, and I went home. And about 6 weeks later, Noel called me and said he was doing Fiddler on the Roof with R&R, and there was a part in it that had no dancing. And would I go and audition? And it literally is like cannonballed from there, because I just did one show after another with him, which led to me doing panto, which led to Riverdance being in a panto and asking me to audition for that. And then Riverdance ended up doing Celtic Woman. So it really was like, it was being in the right place at the right time and kind of having the balls to kind of put yourself out there. And I know it was a different era that we knocked on doors. Like we actually, I know even from doing my 9-to-5 jobs, I knocked on doors. And if I went to an interview, I rang them afterwards going, you know, I have another offer. If you want me, let me know. So there was a lot of that. But yeah, being lucky in the right place at the right time.
What held me back, I tried a few, like I went on after my university language degree, which was 4 years. I went on and I did 2 years full-time performing arts with Bull Alley theatre training. And I got to play Anita in West Side Story, which was gorgeous, like the highlight of my performing career. And then I did a year in Sally Noggin trying to work on my dance, just dance for that full year. And I was going over and back to London. I went to the Wicked auditions back in like 2003 or 2004, really tried my luck, but dancing was always the first step. And I'm not the best actor, but I can get by, and I'm quite a good singer. That's where my training was. It was classical singing from a young age. And it was always the dance that held me back, and I wouldn't get through that round. And I remember like the big cattle calls, and you'd be standing in the front line hoping they'll, you know, notice you, and then they show you the choreography, and it was way too long and way too complicated. Actually, the funniest audition I did was for Starlight Express, and this is before the days of Google, and I was in, what was that place in town near the registry office?
The Factory?
The Factory, yeah, that's where Barrow Street, was it, or something?
Yeah, the Factory.
Where the auditions were held for this, and they showed us the choreography, and I was there in the cattle call, and we learned this eight bar thing or whatever, and he goes, and I was struggling to keep up, and the kicks were like up at your head, and he's like, and of course this will all be done on roller skates. I was like, what? So there's no way getting into that. But I remember going home after it, still trying to be positive, saying to Barry, look, I might have to go on the tour to Germany, you know, if I get this far. Never got.
I may not be able to dance, but I can definitely roller skate.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then
it's so hard. I didn't feel the South Side, though. I think we were at a little bit of a disadvantage when it came to dancing. Like, I don't remember growing up. I don't remember dancers on the South Side. Like everything was on the North Side. Like Billy Barry was on the North Side, and there was definitely a good few places in town. But like our parents weren't able to bring us in.
No, it wasn't even on the cards. It was, for me, it was piano and violin. It was really classical and singing. And then there was a bit of modern dance or jazz dance in the local community hall, but it wasn't to the level that they were doing like in Barry. So I hadn't a hope. But I got down to the last two for the Halfpenny Bridge musical, which was in the mid-2000s. Last two for the lead role, which was really exciting. Audition after audition, and then dropped at the last minute, and devastated because I loved the songs. I found it a really hauntingly beautiful musical. Really, it was really nicely written. Alistair McGuckian wrote it.
Yes.
That put me off at that stage. I was trying to earn money, and I remember being asked to join the Celtic Woman tour with Chloe when, as a tutor, your dad came in and asked me would I go with you guys when she was joining. I think she was about to sit the leaving or something as well.
That's right.
I said no to that, and I always wondered, should I have said yes? Where would things have brought me then? But it's still.
I didn't realize that. Oh my God, she was actually junior cert. She was junior cert. Yeah, she was 14 when she went out on the road.
Wow.
A baby. Wow. That's crazy. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that Dad had asked to do. That would have been lovely. We would have had so much fun.
We would have, yeah. But I think I was still like, no, I'm going to make it here. I'll be in the West End in a year. Just watch me.
Yeah, I know. It's very hard. I toyed with the West End. My initial plan when I went to Riverdance was just to do a year and to go back and do the West End. But at the time, the money was so good in Riverdance. It was like really hard to leave. Like, I'm never going to make this. Yeah. Never, like, the money was great by the time, like, it was. I stress was.
Yeah.
at the time, it was so good. Like you were earning a proper living, and way above sort of UK standard and even Broadway standard at the time, because it was a touring show. So it was like, it was great. So I couldn't actually. And then I met Scott as well. So obviously he was an Irish dancer, so there wasn't anything else he was going to do than Irish dance. So we never left. We were there for about 4 years.
Oh, that's so lovely. And how did you find it? Because I know you had some of your children while you were still touring. Let's get on to the wellness side of things. How did you manage being a mom and touring with young children? I know you were breastfeeding as well, weren't you? You were like full on, proper hands-on mommying and working and
Yeah.
traveling as well. How on earth did you make all that work?
When I actually look back on it now, I actually have like severe PTSD from it that I didn't realize. I'm very much I'm very Irish in the way I'm raised, and like, don't let anyone see anything going on. No, 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 no. And it was really, really important to me that the kids weren't an issue on the tour. And I was really lucky with the 3 kids that I had at the time, that they were so well behaved. They were never an issue. And I, like, half of it was all my own struggle. It was all me. I wasn't very good. I didn't want a nanny raising them. And I had a few nannies here and there. And, you know, actually it turned out one of the best nannies I had was more of a PA to me than she even was a nanny to them. It was just even someone to think of getting nappies, or like, because sometimes we get to a hotel and we wouldn't be near a Walgreens or a grocery store, and I'd have to put the 3 of them in a car and try and get there. And I think I was so adamant to make it work and to not fail at either job, which I was failing miserably at both. But to try, I think it's the crux of every working mom. And really, this was not much different to every other working mom. And I used to compare myself to like a doctor working nights. I'm like, that's what I am. I'm like a doctor who has to go and work nights. It's just, you have to do it with a smile on your face all the time. And I think I probably had 2 breakdowns the whole time, which I remember going into it. I was just so tired. And I remember we'd only 1 day off on a Monday. And I remember going into a hotel in Wilkes-Barre in Pennsylvania, which is like not a great place anyway. And we were in a hotel and the boys were playing. And I was just so tired. Ellie didn't sleep through the night. And I was so, so tired. And it was the day off. And I was always trying to keep the kids quiet. So if there was somebody in the room next to me, my kids weren't waking then, because they'd had, you know, touring is hard on everybody. And I remember Jack, my second eldest, found a whole bunch of toenail clippings down the side of the bed. And I remember losing, like I really lost. I just cried and cried and cried. And I was like, I can't do this. It's just, and again, there are things that everybody goes through as a mom, and all working moms feel. It's just this, we didn't have a home. So you're on a bus or a hotel room, and sometimes in the middle of nowhere going, what am I going to do with kids today? So I went through phases of feeling like I was a terrible, terrible mother, and times of feeling I was a terrible, terrible performer. But I really think that's just part of being a working mom. It doesn't matter what.
It doesn't matter where you are, how you're parenting, or what your job is. I think you've just perfectly summed up the mindset and that desperation where you're desperately trying to show up for the professional life that you've worked so hard for and built it up from nothing, put your heart and soul and blood, sweat and tears in. But these children need you right now in the moment. And it's just, how do you give them all that when you're already so spent with the professional stuff that you have to show up for all the time, no matter how you're feeling? It's
all the time. All the time. It was really tough. I was watching it was last year, my youngest son Harry, he was obsessed with Elvis, so we went to watch the Elvis movie. And I was traumatized after watching it. I was traumatized watching him having to get on the stage, feeling so rotten and so bad, and you still have to get up and do it. And you know, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it. And I was really lucky with the 3 kids I had. They were such good kids to have on the road. I could never have had Harry on the road. Ever. But they were just brilliant. They were brilliant. And I would have been lost. I don't think I would have enjoyed touring as much without them. So I mean, there was that too. It's always a balance, but I don't advise it.
And you also had them like right with you, didn't you? Like they were backstage when you were out on stage. So you were only really away from them for like an hour or 2 a day, really, probably. You know.
Well, what I actually tried to do, so we would always have to check out of a hotel at 3 o'clock. and then we get on the bus. So what I would try to do is at 3 o'clock, we all get on the bus. I try and get on the bus before all the girls have the kids in their bunks, so that when the girls got on the bus, they had their own space too. And the kids weren't annoying them because the kids were excited to see them, you know?
Yeah.
And then we'd get into the theater, and then 4 o'clock would be sound check. So I do sound check. They always sat in for sound check, and then they'd go to catering. They'd have their dinner. They'd get back on the bus. They do their homework, watch a movie, go to bed. So it kind of gave me time there. So I was on my own from like 5 to 10 to do the show and hair, makeup, and all that kind of stuff, and get that done. And then I get back on the bus, and I'd be exhausted. I go straight to bed, and then if we got to a hotel on the bus, the girls would get up during the night. I would 9 times out of 10 stay on the bus with the kids so that everybody slept through the night, and then you're up at 6:30 doing the whole thing all over again.
But look, when you're young, you have the energy too, and you were living the dream. You're out performing and doing the beautiful music that you shared with the world, and that people still love. I was reading through some of the comments on your Facebook, or not your Facebook, well, yes, your Facebook, but also your YouTube videos, like people who've shared the Celtic Woman stuff over the years, and you've such a devoted following who just, it seems like you are the one that stood out for people. Like they are saying, one guy said you could sing the phone book, and I was just like, you bloody could. And your voice suits so many different styles of music. You know, you were able to do the musical theater stuff as much as the traditional Irish, and you brought all that joy to the world. So I wouldn't look back with any regrets if I were you. I know it was tough.
No, I really don't, and it was a wonderful time, and I was so lucky. There were so many other people that were, you know, as deserving and as talented and more talented, and more deserving. So it really yeah, no, it really was. I don't regret it. The kids wouldn't be who they are today if we didn't do it. You know, it gives you great perspective. I don't want to do it again. I mean, I think I went home last year to do the 20th anniversary. I was kind of coaxed into doing it. And I went back and I sat in the dressing room going, what am I doing? Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, I was done. And I knew when I left, I was done. And I did a few of my own shows here in Peachtree City because I had the Voice Academy. So I was trying to give the kids, they're like, unless the kids wanted to do musical theatre here, there wasn't much for them to do. So I wanted an opportunity for them to be on the stage too. And I did a few of those and they were grand. And then I had vocal surgery in 2017, and that really changed everything for me. My voice, I am not able to rely on my voice. Like, it could be great one day, it could be shocking the next day. So but I had made my peace with that. As long as I could teach, that's really all I wanted to do, and I love teaching. So when I went back to do the nerves, I'm putting a dress on, I'm wearing high heels, I was like, oh my god, this is just not who I am anymore. This is just no.
Yeah, it's another world.
Another world for the young ones.
I've always wondered what made you settle in Peachtree. What was your connection there? Was it Scott's connection somehow?
No, we had no connection. We were living in New York. Scott was working in New York, and I was there after I left Celtic Woman. I was still on the road at Celtic Woman, and I lived on and off there, and we couldn't raise 3 kids, and we wanted another child, so we were like, we're never going to be able to, can't afford 4 children in the city. So I googled the best place to live in America, and Peachtree City came up, and I got basic requirements. I wanted it to be a direct flight to Dublin. Scott was still working at the time with the Dublin office, so he had to be 5 hours. Like, any more than 5 hours gets messy, so we kind of had to stay East Coast. I wanted a Starbucks within, it was just so funny because I don't even drink Starbucks anymore, but I wanted a Starbucks, and I wanted good public schools. Yeah. And I put all those in, and this place just kept coming up as you know, the place to live, and like, you can get a lot of house for your money. And we were like, okay, let's give it a go, and we did. And it took me about 4 or 5 years to acclimatize and to get used to living in the south of America, like in the south. Yeah. So there was a lot of cultural change and things, but I do love it now. I've gotten used to it. I've gotten used to the weather, gotten used to the people. I kind of stay very much to myself, and I love what I do, and the kids are respectful and polite. You know, there's a curfew, they're not allowed out after 12, they're not allowed to drink, there's no graffiti, there's no leisure. It's like, it's very very, very nice place. Very nice. I'm very happy here.
Great place to raise.
Not to say I'll stay here.
Yeah.
Great place to raise a kid.
Yeah.
Great place to raise a kid if you have the benefit of being able to get out of here too, because they refer to where we live as the bubble, and it's very much a bubble. But like, you know, our kids are very lucky that they get to go to Ireland. They traveled there. I mean, they were traveling on their own when they were 15 and 16. So they're very kind of self-sufficient. And where we live is very much a Delta hub of pilots. So a lot of kids get to travel, which is, you know, a gift in itself, and nothing like it. But yeah, so they get a bit of balance of both. We get to live here and in a very nice area, low crime and decent people. So it's nice.
That is lovely. And tell us, what are your children up to? I see one of your sons toured with Riverdance a couple of years ago. Following on,
he did, yeah. Cian went off, and yeah, he followed in our footsteps, and he went to Dubai nearly 3 years ago they do Riverdance do flying squad gigs. The people go off and do a show, and then he ended up getting a contract he was nearly 2 years there, and then he met his girlfriend Faith, and she is the daughter of a girl we were in Riverdance with. So it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Yeah, their whole relationship is like carbon copy of mine and Scott. So they're back living with us here at the moment, and she's living here, and they're both working. So Riverdance wasn't on tour. They're back in the Gaiety, but they didn't go home to do the Gaiety, so they're here. And then my other son Jack has just retired from competitive Irish dance. He's been competing. He's done a few Riverdance flying squad gigs as well. And then our daughter is still competing, and our youngest son does an Irish dance, but he's loving the acting. So so it's a fun house.
That is so cool. It's definitely in the blood.
Definitely. He just did an Irish play actually over here in Atlanta. The irony of him being the only American child doing an Irish play. He did a show here at Clelia Murphy.
About socials, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great time. She was just, it was just so nice to have a bit of Dublin in Atlanta.
I only met her a couple of months ago at Comic-Con. She was there with I think it's her partner and their son, is it? Yeah.
They've he has twin sons, her husband Neil. Yeah, they have twin sons. Yes, she was just great. It's just, you know, you can't beat the Irish. You just can't beat the Irish, and it's even funnier when you have them here.
That's such a small world, isn't it? How things happen like this. It's crazy.
Such a small world.
Oh my, that's fab. Okay, I'm going to ask a few more of my stock questions, if that's okay.
Yes.
Just another question I had about your touring days, because to me, the idea of touring is so appealing, but also I can imagine it's so like pushes you to your limits. So how did you manage, say if you caught a cold, or say if you were sick or had a migraine or something, you know, how did you manage? Did you still just have to suck it up and get out on stage?
Yeah, never missed a show. None of us. Mairead might have missed a show. I don't think she did. I'm trying to think. Maybe Mairead might have missed a show, one of us. But no, the show went on. The show goes on. And it's so funny, like your body, when you're touring, your body just behaves. It just knows what to do every night. Every single one of us would come home off tour and be dying sick for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But while you're on tour, you look after yourself. I mean, it wasn't Riverdance. We certainly didn't look after ourselves. Oh my God, that was the early 2000s. There was nobody looking at it. Everyone was partying. Whereas it's so funny now watching what Cian and Faith were doing. Like everybody's in the gym and everybody's eating healthily. We were like watching people smoking outside the back of the stage doors and getting on to do Riverdance. It was totally different. Celtic Woman was a bit more, again, you were looking after your voice and you were on a rock and roll tour schedule, but really a musical theatre show. So like you're trying to watch your voice and not get sick. And allergies was the worst. Allergies would play havoc with people's voices. That was the worst, but nobody, thank God, myself and Chloe got a tummy bug once. And I remember like puking inside stage and going back on and singing and then come back off puking again. But like really your body behaves. Your body just does the work.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have a little taste of it here. Barry is like the longest running show he's been in. I think it was Oedipus when he played that in the Abbey. That was a tough run for him because it was so long and he was Oedipus, so it was very grueling. And he had a few like accidents on stage and still had to go out with blood pouring out of his head one of his nights. Yeah. But this show still has to go on. Like he almost blacked out or passed out on stage. He was still saying his lines and still doing the bow at the end. And like full on grueling. And then my son was in Vikings, you know, the Valhalla.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was one day he was really, really sick with a really heavy cold, and it was his first acting job. And he was saying, can I just, you know, can we just tell them I can't make it? And I was like, I'm sorry, you have to go and do it. And he was sitting on a horse in all this armor, like in a heat wave at the age of 13, like dying with this cold, shivering and everything. And he still just had to do it. So, but I think touring,
I always say that
the length of time that I'm touring, that just is the scary bit for me, thinking about how you literally don't have a night off or anything.
no, you just keep going and you're afraid to stop. It's like anything though. You know, you're afraid to stop, that if I stop, I won't be able, or I'll realize how tired I am. So I just have to kind of keep going. And I honestly think, and I say this to people all the time when I do summer camps, you know, for the kids, and I firmly believe it, there's nothing like stage training. Like there's literally nothing like it. There's nothing like, if you stand up and sing in front of people, I really think you can pretty much do anything. You have the nerve to do most things. And if you can push your body to go on, that also, like, that's amazing in itself. If you can just make your body continue to do stuff, even when bad things happen. I mean, we were on tour when, like, you know, grandparents died and you know, friends died, and you still have to go on and put it, because nobody cares in the audience. They don't care. They don't care. They can say they do, but they still want a good show. They've paid for a good show. So it's a hard balance. Definitely a hard balance.
Yeah. So you're bringing all that wealth of experience to your students now. They must love having you with all your actual real life like experience. What kind of life lessons do you think your students are getting from the work that you're doing with them in the academy?
The biggest thing I try and sell to them is that they can only be themselves. They can only sell what they have. And you can't, like, you don't need, the world does not need another Ariana Grande. The world doesn't need, you know, another, you can't. If you continue to try to be somebody else and not find who you are, it's not authentic. And I really think authentic performances are what makes the performer. I really don't believe you have to be a perfect singer to, God knows, I'm living proof. You don't have to be perfect to make it. You just have to believe in what it is you're selling. You're a salesperson at the end of the day. You're selling a song, you're selling your story, and you want to make people listen. And I really feel if people sing from their heart and they go out and they're genuine in what they do. And I mean, you can't be too genuine, obviously, because you're still a character on stage. But if you believe in what you're doing and you believe in what you're singing, I really think you can fool anybody into thinking you're really good. Because it's a connection at the end of the day. It's actually a connection that people want to make with you. They don't necessarily, and I learned that after my vocal surgery, because I went out and did my first concert after that was in 2019. And I felt terrible. I didn't feel terrible, but I knew it didn't sound the same. And it was great. Like, it was 2 years later, so I was older as well, so that kind of helps. But the realization hit me that if I just walked out on that stage and I just smiled at them, or I even told a story, they'd be just as happy if I did that, as opposed to singing the voice or like any of those kind of things. So I think if you believe in what you do and you believe in yourself and you're passionate and, you know, you stay true to yourself, I really do think that that's your 90%, and work hard. I'm always going to instill that. And I work hard. So I'm like, you know, I'm always here on time. Class starts on time, class finishes on time. Like, that's what it's, work hard and be nice to people and be nice. It's a team effort. There's no star of the show if the stage is covered in dirt. Someone has to sweep it, someone has to look after it, and you have to be nice to people, you know. Absolutely. But they're all happens everywhere.
That's lovely. So definitely feet on the ground and work really, really hard, and don't try and bluff your way through things. Know your limitations, I suppose.
Yeah, or, you know, that didn't work for me, but
accentuate positive.
Yes, yeah, I think work really hard. And I know there's lots of people working really hard out there that don't make it either. So it's a lot of luck. It's a lot of being in the right place at the right time. And it's a lot of what's meant for you won't pass you by.
True, definitely. You share some lovely things on your Facebook. Really nice kind of self-development memes about, you know, setting boundaries and moving away from toxic relationships and staying happy and healthy. Do you think that's something that we all grow into? Because I'm definitely there myself, like really evaluating kind of where I'm spending my time and who's sapping my energy or who's giving me positive vibes, and heading more towards the positive. And it's really made a big difference in my life, I have to say. Do you think that's something we all get to with age, or is it something we need to consciously work on?
I think being Irish, I think it's a little harder for us to do it.
Yeah.
I think we're raised a little differently. I think living in America certainly has helped me in identifying boundaries, which I probably didn't know much about. I think it's really important. I think you focus on the people that bring the best energy to you, and they're the ones that you work on, because we have a tendency to try to make people like us that are never going to like us. So what's the point? It's just wasted energy. Yeah, but I'm like, honestly, I've read my life. I was never really in the middle of drama anyway. I'm not that kind of girl. I don't. I was thinking I don't care deeply enough about things, or I just try not to get in the middle of them. So I've always been lucky. But I can identify. I know if a relationship is going to go sour, and I'm like, I'm going to get out of this right now. And I've gotten better doing that. I've gotten better, probably ghosting, but I've gotten better at ghosting.
Yeah.
I don't always believe me telling somebody is going to help them either, because Baby Reindeer definitely proved all of that for me. If anyone
watched it, but I've had a big rundown from Barry, who watched it, and he was like, "You don't want to watch this. You won't sleep at night." But I got it. Yeah.
Like, do you think with 8, my 40s definitely were a turning point for that I don't care anymore. I just don't care what people think anymore. I'm like, I will be nice to you, and if you're nice to me back, that's great. But if you're not, I'll just move on. Like, it's no consequence. Yeah.
That's great. I've also learned not to to be okay with being misunderstood, and I don't have to go back and check, did somebody get exactly my meaning? If they tell me and we've tried to sort something out and they're still wanting to believe I meant something else, I'm okay with that happening, because I can't put my energy back there sometimes. You know what I mean?
No, and you can't change others either. You can't. I do feel that a lot of the career path that I ended up in choosing made me not take things so personally. And I really don't take things personally. I've never turn around and go, "Oh God, she must be really upset with me." I'm like, she is. Like, I don't I can't fix it. I'll try my best not to make someone upset with me. But if, like you said, if someone misunderstands you, I've gotten to the point I'm going, no, that's on you. And if you haven't clarified it with me and you want to wallow, then that's on you. I can't fix that. So I heard someone say the other day that if you talk to more than 2 people about the same problem, you don't want to fix it. You're just looking for attention. And I went, that's very true.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah.
We all have people like that.
Yeah, we do. Definitely. So come here, we just have a few minutes left. How do you mind yourself during mothering? Because you're still parenting youngies. Like, how old is your youngest?
He's 12 today. My baby's 12 today.
Wow.
So, I don't know. I think I was older having him. I was 35 when I had Harry. So I was definitely not as strict or not as hard on Harry as I probably was in the other 3. I'm very lucky. I really work maybe 20 to 30 hours a week. Scott works a lot more, and he works away quite a lot now, because we have 2 Irish dance schools up north of in Baltimore and Virginia. So he's away every week from Thursday to Sunday. But the kids are great. They've got to a stage that they can manage themselves. I think more with Harry at this stage. They say it all the time, bigger kids, bigger problems. And that's true. You're like, he's going through the whole puberty phase, and I'm like, oh, emotions are high. And anyone who tells me that boys are easier than girls, I'm like, no way. No way.
They definitely need their moms.
They do. But yeah, it's just a lot of, I'm very lucky with the kids I have, and we have really good relationships, and we talk a lot and trust a lot. That doesn't make me not want to kill them, like, a lot. I could lose my mind with them, but you just do, and you just hope that they like you and they respect you at the end of the day, and you make decent humans. I mean, that's all you can really hope for.
Yeah. I read today just that parenting is primarily first a relationship, and we need to cultivate that relationship. And that's even more important than the disciplining and the rules. And because I said so, because I'm your mom, you know, we need to know that they're going to want to hang around with us when they're older at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
And respect you, and let us not cause too much emotional distress for them, you know. And that's hard. And we're more aware, I think, as parents these days as well. And I have the benefit of being able to parent away from everybody, which it really was because I could do it the way I wanted to do it and not have it. I mean, that can be terrible too, because you've no help and you've no family support and stuff. I don't believe they have to be clones of you. And I think we probably thought that growing up, that like you just have to, it was very hard, especially in Ireland, very hard to be yourself or not to follow the norm. And I think being in America, there's too much of that, but it certainly can balance. It can certainly balance. And I think that's been a huge benefit of parenting, is finding that balance between the two very different cultures. Very different.
that is so true. I've lived a life mainly outside the norm with the big choices I've made. Home birthing, homeschooling, breastfeeding past infancy, all those things people raise their eyebrows at. And there's never a point where the people who, you know, spent their time saying, oh, this isn't going to work, you're making the wrong decision, they never come back to you and say, actually, I see now you did the right thing. And it's so tough.
Or how did that go for you?
There's no
I'm sure.
There's never a
I'm sure during COVID, they were all probably trying to borrow your lesson plans.
Do you know what? That is the biggest thing that's changed. Now, when we tell people we homeschool, they've all had a flavor of it, even though what they did during COVID was different to how we homeschool as well. But they understand, you know, the pull between the working at home plus parenting and homeschooling all at once. The biggest thing for me is keeping on top of the dishes. The dishwasher goes on here 3 times a day because we're eating like 15 meals a day in the house.
It's your home.
A lot of cooking. And actually that gets me on to family meals. I wanted to ask you, with your kids being so athletic, how did you raise them with good nutrition? What were your kind of go-to family meals or snacks that kept them going?
Well, we're like, both myself and Scott will be pretty like, I'll have a glass of wine every night. Well, mostly every night. But apart from that, like we're pretty good eaters, and being on the road certainly helped with the kids because it was structured, and I would bring them for breakfast, but then dinner would be at 4. So then in the evening, if they were on the bus, they'd have a snack, they'd have popcorn. So my kids have always been super regimented like that. And again, I noticed the difference with Harry because he's not. And Harry's the only one that kind of went through schooling in America and went through snacking, which drives me. I mean, they give sweets out here to the kids as a reward in class. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not allowed to put sweets in there, which I wouldn't. But I'm like, stop giving them candy in class. It drives me nuts. I'm like, stop doing that. But yeah, so the kids are very like, I was trying to think, they're all really good eaters. It's never been an issue. Like, they never didn't eat stuff. Harry's the worst eater out of them all, but he'll try everything. But the boys and Ellie were always very good, very adventurous and very health conscious. Like, I remember when we lived in Avoca, I used to stop halfway in Kilmechanic for Cian, who was my eldest, to get him a special apple in the apple station. And the only reason it was a special apple was because it was in a fridge. And to this day, that 22-year-old of mine still calls it a special apple and still has all his apples in the fridge. And if he just lived on those alone, he would be fine. So yeah, as athletes, they've been pretty good, but we're not really a big, like, we'll have fast food, but we're not really a big fast foodie kind of family anyway. I love to cook, and Scott loves to cook. So like, we nearly always have dinner here, unless it's just really busy. It's not to say I don't go to McDonald's, definitely do.
Yeah, I know, I'm a fan of that too when I need to, and I don't feel guilty about it anymore. You just family how you can. And do you kind of batch cook and freeze stuff for the future, or is everything fresh on the day?
No, I do. It depends. I also cook for an army, like always. So I will always double cook because I always have extra children in this house. Like the Kian's girlfriend lives with us. We've another one of our students from Florida. He's here at the moment. He lives here some of the time. Ellie's best friend is always here. So there's always people in the house. So if I cook, and I do, I mean, I cook about 5 days of the week, I will like make a big batch so that, you know, the kids, because they dance at night as well, they don't always eat dinner. They tend to eat a big lunch. So what I make the day before, they'll bring into work the next day and have for lunch. And that's kind of the way it works. But I've no problem freezing stuff, and got the more dinners in the week I can get out of that stuff. Happy days.
I'm the same. Yeah. If I'm going to go to the trouble of chopping an onion, I'll definitely chop 3 or 4 and make a huge batch of whatever it is that I'm doing. That's my motto.
Yeah.
Keep things
Absolutely.
simple and, you know, use your energy very carefully as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. Especially when you're working so much. Okay. Let me hear quickly about your podcast. How did that come about? Because you've got a gorgeous gang of ladies. I really loved meeting them last year. How did that come to fruition? Were you all friends beforehand? Or how did it?
So I was friends with Trisha beforehand. Trisha had like sent me an email. Trisha, the woman who runs the podcast, she'd called me before Christmas 2022 and was like, I really want to do a podcast called Middleage-ish, and I really want you to be a guest or like to be a host with me. And I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll do it. Not really thinking of anything. And then she was like, I need somebody else. I have a Pam who's a psychologist. And I had just started doing, I hate the gym. I don't go to the gym. I'll walk the dogs, but I hate going to the gym. But I'd started it. My bum was starting to sag big time. I was like, this is not happening. So I joined a bar class, which is like Pilates with a ballet bar. And I was like, I'll join this. So the girl who owns that, who's like at the front desk, just larger than life, full of personality, runs 2 businesses, and we were looking for like a business owner that was into fashion. She owns a fashion boutique and the gym, so it was like, or the bar class. So we were like, she'd be great. So we didn't really know each other at all. I mean, I knew Trisha, but not very well. Like I've known her a long time, but we're friends, but we don't hang out all that much. So it really was getting to know each other, and that's what we wanted with the podcast. Was like, you're learning things, because I think that's what makes conversation fresh. Sometimes you can know someone really well. Like I know myself and Chloe, or have done loads of before there were podcasts, we did lots of Q&As, and we know each other really well.
During lockdowns, weren't you doing them during that as well? Like live.
We were. Yeah.
They were great crack.
Yeah, because she ended up being stuck with me for like 3 weeks or something. So we ended up doing those kind of things, and you know each other so well that like I'd be looking at her going, you are lying, right? Like, that brings its own dynamic. But the dynamic of like not knowing each other, which is really, with Celtic Woman, we didn't know each other. And I always felt that kind of added a little bit of magic to it, that you could get to know things about people, and it makes conversation stronger.
It really does. It's lovely listening to you. It's like you're a fly on the wall. And that's what I wanted for my podcast too, and get that camaraderie going. It's really lovely. Yeah.
And no better woman, Niamh. No better woman.
Thank you. I've been really lucky with the people I've had on. They've all really enjoyed chatting. No one has been too shy. It's been great because everybody I know a little bit. So there's already common ground there. And I think that makes a big difference. Yeah, it's lovely.
Oh, no, it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
I have a question about your students in the Lisa Kelly Voice Academy. What are you most proud of when it comes to your students? Do you see kind of trends with the new, what are they, the Generation Alpha or something? Or no, Generation?
I don't know. I mean, every little generation, it's funny because some of the ones I started with are now married with kids. I'm like, oh my God, that's so weird, because I've been doing it 12 years this year, or 11 years this year. So I've grown, some of them I've grown with. I think this is the first year that like, when I start back, there'll only be 2 or 3 that I've had from the very beginning. Like those kind of seniors have all gone. But I think it's just seeing their confidence. I love a project. Like I love a kid that's a project. I really don't want them to walk in and be amazing. I'm like, what am I going to do with you? You're already amazing, but everybody has their own little things. So I shared a picture on my Facebook of a little girl who I've taught for years, and she has Asperger's. And when she came into me first, she was so afraid and didn't like sounds. And I would have been, I'm not anymore, but I would have been pretty touchy feely then, which is crazy because I don't really like to be hugged myself. But again, being Irish, it's like, oh, what do you do? I hug you. And she came into me about 10 years ago, and I wasn't able to touch her, and she'd have, frequent meltdowns in class, and this was all new to me. And now I have at least 25, 26 kids that are on the spectrum that I teach on a weekly basis, and they're all so different and wonderful and creative and fabulous. But she finally is going off because she'd been in college for the last 2 years, but she wasn't living on campus. So she left me 2 weeks ago to go on campus, and she ran to hug me. And I was like, I think that meant more to me than most things, because I was like, this has been 10 years of trust and a hard slog. And she's taught me so much. She taught me so much patience and understanding. And she's the most wonderful person. Like, I adore this child. She just brings so much to the world. And I think it's very rare that I get a child that I can't bond with. Very, like, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 in the whole time I've been there, that we just, no matter what, there's just a roadblock, and they have to trust me. And I spend so much time getting to know them and getting, like, I know their families, I know what they do. I'll invest that time because I have to know what makes them tick. And most of them are never going to be singers. They're never going to be singers, but they walk out feeling confident and feeling heard. And that's really important to me. It's really important to me that
and
they're heard.
Life lessons to stand up in front of a crowd and give a presentation or do an interview or whatever it is they need to, which is all performance. And you've given that girl tools, and obviously she's come so far. That must be so rewarding. That's gorgeous to hear.
So rewarding. Although, I mean, I say things I never thought I would have to say, or I hear things I never thought I'd have to hear. Like, the amount of times I've had to say, please don't send nudes. Like, but they're the things you're dealing with teenage girls. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why? And they have no problem telling you that. I'm always kind of going,
yeah, it's crazy. I ran a theatre for kids, but I finished up in 2011 when my second son was born, but I was doing it from 97. And I did it kind of part-time through my college years, through my teaching years, and then I did it full-time from my mid-20s to my early 30s. But it was all before Facebook, before Instagram. Kids didn't all have phones, like some of them did, not everyone did. And there's no even remaining evidence of it online, except for a Facebook group where all these members are now in their 20s and 30s and having kids themselves. But I can't imagine teaching kids or being involved with kids now in today's society, where there's so much that is unfamiliar to us in our generation. Like, growing up and being able to have your messy nights out documented and, posted online for everyone to laugh at the next day. Like, that terrifies me, the thought of that.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be growing up in this generation at all. And the only thing I feel, that the only benefit I feel, is they're going to be made of harder stuff than we are. And while everyone can claim that it's a snowflake era, I'm not necessarily sure. I think it's the parents that are the snowflakes. It's not really the children. The children are well able, and I've seen evidence of that even with my own kids, that there's it's funny, my husband's involved in Irish dance, and there's this awful discussion board on Irish dance. It's an anonymous discussion board filled with absolutely the worst stuff, and I've often gone to the kids and I've gone, oh my God, like, why would somebody say that that's not true? And they're like, stop, that's not even bad. God, they're so used to people writing and saying stuff about them, and it being visible to them too. I mean, you and I know you would have bitched about people. We never would have said it.
Oh my gosh!
It blows my mind.
Resilient. Maybe they are more.
They are in some ways, yeah. In some ways,
better boundaries. They know that that wouldn't be said in real life. It's only a bit of online vitriol, and it's not taken seriously, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, but unfortunately, you and I know you hit the wrong person.
Yeah.
And you say the wrong thing to the wrong person online, and then the consequences are horrific.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot more of that. But I say it all the time. I like, you know, definitely the kids that I teach are wonderful people. Like, they really are. I think, you know, the youth get such a bad name. But
I don't think that's fair. I did dread having teenagers when my kids were young, because what I'd heard about teenagers was that they were difficult and moody and they'd slam doors in your face. And now I've almost got 2 teenagers. Next month I'll have 2 in the house, and they're gems. They're wonderful. So I do think it's what you put into them. And I can imagine your students are reflecting back the amazing care and inspiration they get from you. You are sunshine inside and out, Lisa. So bring out the best. And I'm sure it's a highlight of their week for some of the kids who may not have the happiest of outside of the school. I'm sure coming into you is an absolute joy for them. And you're making
we can just hope.
Yeah, you're totally making a mark that will last forever. So keep it up. Good on you. Okay, I've got 4 questions to ask you at the end that I'm asking everyone. Bit of fun. So if you don't mind, quick fire, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
Is there a book or movie that have made a big impression on you?
Beaches.
Oh,
Beaches. Yes, for so many reasons. I want to say I saw it in 1989 with my best friend Sinead at the time, and she's still my wonderful friend. That made a huge impression on me. Yes. Beautiful. Loved it. I loved everything about it.
Bette Midler, and who is the other one? Susan Sarandon?
Barbara Hershey.
Okay, yes. I haven't seen that since the 90s myself. It's a real tearjerker, isn't it?
Total tear. I haven't watched it since myself either, because it'll make me cry. So I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't cry.
That the Rose song came out of, or Wind Beneath My Wings?
No, Wind Beneath My Wings.
Yeah, that was one of my karaoke songs in the 90s as well. That and Houston's playlist. Oh my God.
Yeah, the greatest love of all.
Okay, what's your desert island meal, or like last supper, if you had to pick your favorite? And there's no judgment here from the nutritionist.
Oh, peas and wine.
Oh, lovely. Any particular kind of cheese?
Oh, I love a good smoked cheddar. I love a Port Salut, and I love a good Irish. Actually, you know what? The Irish cheddar has probably been replaced. I love a goat's cheese. I love an Irish goat's cheese.
Oh, lovely. And what wine would you go with them?
I will go with a red blend Californian.
Gorgeous. Okay, anyone out there listening, give that a go. It's Lisa. Do you have a motto for life?
I do. I have quite a few mottos for life. My dad used to say to me that if you learn to accept everybody's selfish, you'll never be disappointed.
Oh.
I kind of went, that's kind of true. I think my biggest thing is what will be, what's meant for you will not pass you by. But I really live by what's meant for you won't pass you by.
That's lovely. Yeah, that's a good, keeps everything in perspective as well, and stops you worrying as well. Yeah. And finally, what's your idea of perfect happiness?
Oh, well, for me, I mean, everybody under my roof at home, like, and probably enjoying a meal. I know that's really sad, but it's really, food is really important to me. I've learned this as I've gotten older.
Life that we get to enjoy multiple times a day. It's so important. Really, really.
Yeah, and I love when I love when all the kids are together under one roof and there's laughter. And even if I'm not involved in it, like in where we live in the south, all the master bedrooms are on the main floor. So they're not away from the family. The kids are upstairs, and then your primary bedroom is on the living area. So there's so many nights myself and Scott be sitting in bed and we've the TV on, and the house is full of kids, and he'll just look at me and go, "You're so happy right now, aren't you?" I'm so happy right now.
Gorgeous. You're such an Irish mammy. Yeah.
I love the noise in the house. I love all the kids in the house. Yeah.
Lovely. I'm the same. I'm at my happiest when the front door is banging every 5 minutes with friends coming and going and calling for my kids, and it's just so special. And I know in like years, I'll be in a quiet house and I'll have it all perfect. There'll be no fingerprints or dust or toys to trip over, but I'm going to miss the mad busyness. I'm sure.
Oh, you will. You will. Yeah, you will. I dread the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to
But
enjoy
then it's another start, and I hear people say that all the time. The Americans are very good at that, about the whole empty nesting and, you know, starting your life over again, and, you know, grandchildren, and, you know, moving. It's just a different phase. And as you said, like when your relationship is good with your kids, they're always going to come back. Always going to come back, and those grandkids are going to be as important. You know,
Yeah,
you'll be an excellent presence in all their lives, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's lovely. It's been an absolute joy talking to you today, Lisa. I could go on and on, but we'll let you go and let your lovely listeners go as well. Get back to your family.
Listen, so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for having me, and good luck with this. There is no better woman out there to be doing something like this. You bring joy everywhere. So I'm delighted to do. Good luck with it.
Thank you. Where can people find you if they want to follow your work or listen to your music?
Oh, I'm really old. Yeah, I'm really old school. I only have a Facebook. So you can go to Lisa Kelly Singer on Facebook, and not Lisa Kelly Ice Road Trucker. I am not an ice road trucker, but yeah, I get yeah. We ended up doing it. Me and her ended up doing an interview together, because the amount of times she was asked to sing Danny Boy, and the amount of times I was told how great I am at driving a rig.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So Lisa Kelly Singer on Facebook, and Middleage-ish on Facebook. And I have there's the Lisa Kelly Voice Academy on Facebook too.
Excellent. I'll put all those links in the show notes below. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you, honey. Good to see you.
Thanks a million. Mind yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. I loved catching up with Lisa, and she's still as gorgeous and inspiring as ever. There really is no business like show business. Check out the links below to follow her online. In episode 6, I speak to breastfeeding expert Nicola O'Byrne about the changes in breastfeeding in the last decade or so. She's a lactation consultant, so who better to answer my questions about my own experience, as well as sharing info to support mums with low milk supply and when they're ready to wean. Let's spread the joy by sharing this podcast. Give me 5 stars, and if you got this far, you might want to sign up for my Inner Circle email at the link below.